Hi there. I just want to have a quick run through of what I've learnt so far about this software called Socrative, which you can see here on the screen. I've also got it open, downloaded that free app onto my Android phone, which is a Samsung, but it's not relevant. I've tried the app with groups of students who've got various priced mobile phones, tablets, and laptops with either iPhone or Apple or Android technology on it, and it's worked very reliably. There's a few little tricks to it, so I thought I'd just go through those. But effectively what this allows you to do is to, on your laptop or your lecture theatre computer, you basically go on the net. You create your own login, or it's all free, and I've got one open here. I can log out, but it automatically logs in when I log into Socrative, and you give yourself, for a particular task, a room name. I never bother changing that room name. So once you've done that once, that becomes the room I've used week after week. I've done it for 2 whole weeks, and with 2 different lectures, one undergraduate lecture and one a postgraduate lecture, sorry. And it's worked equally well in both cases. So single room. Now what in theory that means is that anybody with that code can enter the room and participate in the quizzes, but why someone outside the room on the other side of the planet would want to do that, there's no value in it for them. So I find it, I don't think security is a big issue here within certain constraints. So as the teacher, you get to control the questions and also get to control what displays up on the screen. But let's just do a quick demonstration of how this works. So I've got some quizzes here, my quizzes, and let's say a very simple one. Do you have any questions or thoughts? I've also got, if we go to all, I've got some other ones. I use this one, which is better Snickers or Kit Kat, to work out rewards, to get the students involved. They actually had a say in whether they were going to get Snickers as first prize or Kit Kat as first prize for one of my quizzes. I thought this was a particularly interesting one. How easy do you find it to understand the lecturer? And I did get scores of around the 60% average, which was quite worrying. So that has allowed me to instantly respond to that by slowing down further and using simpler English. Hopefully that score will improve, and I can just run that whenever I want to, during a class, after a class, before a class starts. It's a great way to, you can put any question here that you like, but it's a great way to show that you're listening to them. So if I want to start that particular quiz, let's have a look at that one. Let's say I want to run that one. You get to disable students' names, so even if they were to put their real name in when they log in, I wouldn't get to see it. And you can actually show them on the screen that you're doing that. Let's say disable is on, okay? So we disable, they actually get to see that what you're doing, and so that they know that you're being honest about it. And if we were to start that, now class total has got 0 in it at the moment, no one in it, but I'll just show you the student has got that app there, into which they first of all enter the name, which I will just do, out of OB, and they join the room, they click join the room. It takes a moment for them to join in, waiting for teacher to start the activity, and then the activity immediately, because I had started it. And notice anonymous comes up on the screen because we had random, and let's say I put in 70%. I understand myself to 70% level, and I press submit answer, which I do now. And there we go. G comes up. Now we'll just take this through. G was response G, and we'll finish. Then you have the option of downloading the results, and let's download them and submit. And I'll just show you very quickly what the results look like. Unfortunately, because of my software, There we go. Okay. 70% indeed comes up, disabled student name, but if you have a whole series of students, you'll get there. You can even calculate with Excel very quickly an average score, for example. But that's the less fun use of socrative. Some of the more fun uses is that you can run space races, and effectively, let's say I have that particular one, and let's say you decide to have 4 teams of 4 in your room, for example, and assign team colours. It's based on colours, and you'll see why in a minute. Disable feedback. You can actually, in the quizzes, tell them if they're right or wrong. I tend to leave that in there so that they know. And you start the activity. Now, what happens is the 4 groups come up on the screen, and you can organise the groups whichever way you want. And as they answer questions right, they advance along the screen here. If they don't get them right, they don't go backwards, they just don't advance. You can do this as an absolute race, so whoever gets to the end first, or whoever gets furthest first, assuming that you've got several questions and everybody gets at least one wrong, which has been my experience so far. But that the students, the atmosphere in the room changes a great deal. The students are all focused around it forces them into a nice group situation. There's lots of laughs and things like that. They can then debate like almost a trivia night quiz at the pub, which is the best answer. And then they put it up, and instantly the little rockets start moving along the screen, and they look up. It creates a nice atmosphere. I do find that this is better than doing individual, where certain students can get too dispirited, I think. And I have found from feedback they prefer to do it as groups, even though we've got some very disparate kind of groups. I'll just press finish there, and I will view later. Let's cancel, finish, view later, submit, and we'll go back to the dashboard, which is over there. If you've got a race or a quiz that seems to be hanging and you want to finish it, you actually will get a button up here to say finish or complete. I can't quite remember which one. Quite easy to use. So at the moment my phone is showing waiting for your teacher to start an activity. So that's where the student is at. By the way, you can control this whole thing from your phone. You can take down a Socrative Teachers app as well. But let's say you just use it off your web browser. So in terms of quizzes, we'll press Manage Quizzes, and we'll just go and have a look at creating a quiz. And you can create a quiz called XYZ, and I don't know what that shared means. It's possible that it's shared on the net or something. I have never clicked that button, so I don't actually know what it means. But nothing that I do is of rocket science, or I wouldn't be particularly concerned if someone were to borrow my questions and answers. This is not examination material. So you can add 3 kinds of questions. Multiple choice, which I used for that, how much of me do you understand, 60, 70, 80%. True-false questions, which I like to include because it allows the groups in those races to at least have a 50% chance of moving across the screen. Otherwise, you can get dispiriting situations where some groups are just not moving, and that kind of, I think, takes the atmosphere a bit away. The short answer questions I'll talk about in a minute, but I make my quizzes for the class a combination of these two. These are kind of like the competitive quizzes, so to speak. So multiple choice, very, very simple. You just double click on that. What is the meaning of life? And you can answer beer and holidays and jewelry. I don't know why I'm choosing these, and I suspect I'm spelling jewelry wrongly. And peace on earth. Okay, and the correct answer is beer. You do need to click those correct answers. If you don't do that, it does stuff up the race. It does stuff up the results, because students will actually answer one of them and none of them will be correct. And you can then give a reason. Beer makes the world feel like it should feel without beer. And I think, which is very close to what Henry Lawson said. And then that's it. You can get rid of it by pressing that. You can shift its order up and down the list if you want to, or down. You can add an image too if you wanted to. It's not necessary for university level, I think. Then you add a true-false question. Is this the best subject you've ever studied? And question mark, and you're true. Make sure that goes green. If it doesn't go green, you haven't properly clicked it, and move on to the next question. So we might just press save and exit, and we've now created a new quiz which we can run. So if we go back to the dashboard, we can start a quiz, and we can just run it like that, which basically means student paced means the students get to just go through them as quickly as they like. Teacher paced means the teacher gets to initiate them. And student-paced immediate feedback enables you to have those answers, the correct answers, to come back to them. But let's go back to the dashboard again, start a quiz with the space race, and you simply choose XYZ, and you've got 5 teams and so on. Now the team colours thing is probably worth mentioning. There's only one way to differentiate teams, and that is with colours. Now, I do it auto-assign, because if you do student assign, you can get a situation where students might accidentally pick both blue as their team colour, and you get a little bit of confusion. I do think it's a lot better to go with just the auto-assign. They'll be able to see once they start on their... It looks default blue, which is a bit confusing at first, but once they start answering the questions, they log in and answer the questions, their screen has a little header of magenta or yellow or whatever the team colour they've got. And that's just about it, except I wanted to point out a particular thing in relation to the quick question, which you can actually generate on the fly while you're in class as well. And the quick question can be just, let's say, a short answer. That's the one that I think is great. So in some courses, we've got group work where the groups have to present, and the student participation from the class is part of the mark. One of the 2 courses I'm involved with, that's the case. And I got to the point where I was realising how that would play out to some degree in the class, where you've got dominant students who will always ask the questions and subsequently get all the marks, and students who are very shy and don't want to say anything. So instead, what I'm going to be doing is actually putting something very basic. Do you have any questions for this group? And so the group have to answer the questions, but the students in the audience, and we can say, we maybe limit it to single, and we put student name required, because that enables you to assess the feedback from the students and give them marks based upon their degree of involvement. And then we press start. Now, that comes out, and I'll just open my screen up, and you have to now enter your name. And for this, of course, to work, they do have to enter their real name, and presumably that's easy enough to organise unless they want to cheat on behalf of another student. So I'm going to put in my name here. Done. And up comes on my screen, do you have any questions for this group? And then I can type in my question. Now they can type in that question while the students are presenting or after the students have, during question time. And I probably won't be assessing them on the brilliance of their spelling or whatever, but just the quality of the question. Then I'm just going to submit this. What is the meaning of life? And that's it. I'll submit that. Now what's great is that you can click on show names here, and it's Olaf comes up, but you can also, for confidentiality reasons, I'd probably suggest not showing the names. I mean, show the names after the class. Remember, we get the option to download the answers, so you can do your marking of questions not on the fly when it gets all a bit hot and sweaty and panicky, but after the class you can say, well, these were good questions and these were not so good questions. But it allows you, in class, you'll get a series of hopefully questions. You may pick up some themes, and then you as the lecturer deliver the questions. Hopefully if there are any ruder or less polite or more unpleasant questions, you can soften that for the group so that they, you know, get an opportunity to answer decent quality questions. I think this is a particularly nice way of handling this side of group work so that you can avoid people hogging the limelight and also avoid multiple. This way I can actually not show the screen until everybody's put their questions so that no one gets to cheat by stealing other people's questions, for example, and so on and so forth. Anyway, I think that's it.